Good evening. There's a photo I'd like to share with you guys today and a little bit of the story. It's of a wolf that was stalking around an Indian reservation, the Tulalip Indian Reservation in Washington State. And I guess it had been seen around the community, and then I guess the community members eventually took it out because they were worried about livestock and safety and everything else. And it turned out to be an incredibly large wolf-like creature, as you see here. Just for scale and reference, the man standing there holding the wolf, you can see from his forearms, he looks like a big guy, and according to the lady, he's over 6 feet tall. And this wolf has a very odd appearance. It doesn't look like your big fluffy gray wolves, so maybe it's some kind of a wolf-dog hybrid. Here's the full picture. We'll start from the bottom, scrolling up. The fur looks odd. I mean, animals always look a little bit different when they're deceased, but you can see he's a pretty big dude, and this thing's looks quite heavy. This thing looks like it's 150 pounds, 200 pounds easy. Large tongue, large paws. A lot of wolf dog hybrids have smaller paws. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the hair, just the general complexion of this thing just looks very sinister. Doesn't look like any of the wolves I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of wolves in zoos, and I've seen them in the wild in Yellowstone National Park, and fairly familiar with them. And it just has a very short hair look to it, not like not bald like mange, but just a very short fur. So maybe it's some kind of a hybrid. The ears are very large, like a wolf. And I can't tell, but it almost looks like there's more scruff on the back where the neck is. So the letter that the lady gave me attaches a picture sent to me by a woman who works in the head office for the tribe. She's my friend's mother. The story goes the tribe members started reporting seeing it at the beginning of September, which is when I returned from a very strange adventure. We can get into that later. The tribe members started hunting it. They managed to kill it a week before Halloween. The man holding the animal is over 6 feet tall, and the wolf is larger than he. As far as I know, I've lived here my entire life. There is no wolves. I'll put you in contact with these people if you're interested. As far as the shapeshifter story, that's the natives here tell me was a Sasquatch. I have to write it up, and it would be easier for me to talk to you on the phone. But I'm definitely going to talk to this lady some more. It sounds like there's a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, Washington State is quite a big area for Sasquatch, and lots of thick woods and lots of Indian tribes and reservations up there. There's a big Native American influence. So there's a lot going on up there. I mean, that's pretty much Bigfoot Central. So anyway, the map you're seeing right now is the known wolf ranges. Some maps have little varying ideas of where these wolves are and what their ranges are. There's a few different ones on the internet, but this one I found, and this seems to be pretty accurate. There are some spots in Washington State, but I think the moral of the story when it comes to wolf ranges is we don't really know. I mean, they're wolves. They go through miles, and they travel at night, and they're extremely elusive. So, I mean, we can maybe collar one, and they can follow a pack, but there's many packs, and they break off. And kind of like when they reintroduced wolves into Yellowstone National Park into a lot of areas of Montana, there's a lot of speculation that way back in the hills, wolves were probably already there anyway. So you never really get the full story. We can guess at their ranges, and so I think that's a lot of what's going on here with this map. So if you guys remember last year, I did a video, and it was all over the internet, and it was on even the news, some of the major newscasts about strange wolf that was shot in Montana by a rancher that was sneaking around his farm. And also just wanted to say, I know a lot of people always say, oh, why'd they shoot these wolves? Why'd they shoot these wolves? Well, as horrible it is to have a wolf shot, I'm not condoning people shoot wolves. It's also very horrible for your livestock or your pets to be torn apart and eaten by these animals. And everybody has their own value system and their own morals. So protecting their animals, their livestock from getting eaten and torn apart. And also a lot of times in livestock, it's their livelihood. Not only do they care about these animals, but those animals are also a source of money. So you kind of have to put yourself into other people's shoes before you judge them for killing a wolf. And there's a lot more wolves out there than you think, and they're not really at risk of going extinct. I mean, they used to have a much bigger range, and I don't think people should be hunting them per se. But if they're threatening livestock or animals or people, then it's like any other animal. Human life comes first. I know with the whole Game of Thrones things, huskies and wolves and things are very popular right now, and I personally really like wolves. I think they're very cool myself. You know, they're like dogs but wild, and we have a lot of kinship with them, and humankind's had a lot of connection with wolves. But this one shot in Montana was very, it was very odd looking, and it was pending a DNA test, and it was all this speculation that some said it was a buffalo wolf, and other people said that it was a wolf dog hybrid. Some people said that it was some government experiment, and the official story, the DNA test came back that it was a regular wolf. It was a female, and that it was just a regular gray wolf. Now, we know the government, and we know how places work. If there was something really strange that was going to be a media sensation and send people out in the hills to go look for more of these things, they probably wouldn't tell you the truth anyway. They'd probably just say, yeah, it was a regular wolf, even if it wasn't. So we may never know the truth. This wolf was odd because the paws were kind of small on it, and it had some dog-like features. And to me, it looked more like a dog than a wolf, to be quite honest. But still very fascinating. I'm going to leave the link to the 2 videos I did on this subject from last year. There was a part 1 and then there was a part 2. So I'll leave those videos in the description if you guys want to check those out. So I remember seeing before, and I kind of wanted to look them up on the internet, pictures of how large wolves get. And I know the further north you get, the bigger wolves get. And that was part of the controversy when they reintroduced them into Yellowstone National Park, because I guess historically the wolves were 70, 80 pounds, and they introduced these really big wolves that are over 100 pounds that are native to Canada. So that's why the wolf packs are doing really well in the reintroduction in Yellowstone and in other areas. But that's kind of a digression there. But the farther north you go, the colder it gets. Typically, animals get bigger. That's Bergman's rule. That's not always the case with every kind of animal, but typically with bears and mountain lions and everything else, the bigger hardy animals do better in the cold. So I just wanted to give you guys some photos that wolves do really get big. I have a lot of wolves, though. If you've seen them up close, there are a lot of fluff to them. And, certainly they're a big animal, but something that's 70 or 80 pounds can look 120 pounds with a lot of fluff on them very easy, especially in the colder climates. But there are legitimate wolves that get over 150 pounds. And I've heard stories of them. When you pick them up like that and you stretch them way out, they look really big. Over 6 feet tall. Certainly wolves are generally a lot bigger than what we would consider a large dog. Like if you consider like a Labrador or Golden Retriever to be a large dog, and then like a Newfoundland or Irish Wolfhound to be like an extra large dog, these wolves can generally get into like the extra large dog size category. Also, it always comes up on this channel. I realize for the new people out there and for the old, there's the phenomenon of Dogman that makes very little sense. If Bigfoot is strange, Dogman makes even less sense because, the fossil history and modern science, if you believe in that or not, that's great. But it says, there are other walking hominid species. We're a walking hominid species, so Bigfoot makes sense. But these dogman werewolf creatures that people have reported seeing all over the South in the United States, tons and tons of sightings of these things. I've never seen one. I don't know what to make of it, but I know these people are seeing something because there's a lot of credible witnesses. I'll say that I don't think that they're necessarily involved with these giant wolves that are being reported and found. The whole Dogman, the Beast of Bray Road, the Michigan Dogman thing, the Rougarou in the South. There's a whole history of these upright walking canines, and all over Europe there's history of werewolves. And I don't think these large wolves are necessarily related to that. I think maybe there's some kind of genetic hybrids bred with large dogs, or you just get a wolf pack maybe comes down from way far up north, and or you just get a freak out there sometimes. And also Indian reservations seem to be a magnet for high strangeness, for Indian, for all their lore and rituals. It's really quite fascinating. I have great respect for it. And, for Sasquatch and skinwalkers and all their kind of spiritual stuff, they tend to have a lot of that on their reservations and on their lands. So, I find it very interesting. We can see here from some of the tracks that, different parts of the country, they find things that, is this Dogman creature people are seeing? Is it an incredibly large wolf? Is it a dog? Is it just a regular large dog? Because, domestic dogs can get very huge and they can roam in packs and be feral too. That's very common even in big cities to have packs of, feral dogs, that were once kept as pets and breed and live. They're just one step away from wolves. So anyway, if you feel I deserve it, please give this video a like. That's a thumbs up. It really helps us out. Leave a comment what you think is going on with these big wolves that are being found, and in the particular picture in general. And also, I just want to say I have a few Native American friends, and they don't mind being called Indian. So if you're offended by me saying the word Indian as opposed to Native American, I do apologize. But all the ones I've met don't seem to mind, and that's why when they created the American Indian Museum in Washington, D.C., they voted to call it Indian. They don't seem to have a problem with it. But if you're offended by that, then I'm sorry. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much. If I learn more information or have an update or a longer story, I'll do a part 2. And stay safe out there, folks.